Welcome back, everybody. It's Wealth Wednesday. I just had an amazing weekend, Memorial Day weekend, hanging out with my family. Had a great time with my wife and my boys. I have two little boys. One's 4, one is just a year old now. But today, I just want to cover a couple of things, guys. There is two things. There are two things that just happened recently that I cannot talk about today. The most recent thing, of course, you guys, is Memorial Day. Memorial Day just happened. I am a veteran, um, and Memorial Day is sacred to me, and Memorial Day is really close to home to me. So I chose not to do my regular weekly episode of Moto Monday because I just felt like since I got hurt when I was hurt in Afghanistan back in 2010, I came really close to dying. And so I just utilized that day to just reflect on how all the things in life that I'm grateful for, and how like the my Marines and the people I was with in Afghanistan are not here to enjoy, or some of the people that I was with in Afghanistan are not here to enjoy what I take for granted on a daily basis. So I'm really just thankful. And I didn't want to make a video that day because Memorial Day, like I said, is real close to home for me. Because I could have been counted in those numbers back in 2010. So I didn't feel like making a video would even like capture the amount of sacrifices my Marines and the people that I served with in Afghanistan, the amount of sacrifices that they made. I don't think my video could have covered that. That was too huge a task for me to take on. First and foremost, that's what I wanted to talk about. And of course, I'm just grateful to be here and just grateful to be alive and, to be able to even talk about those guys. But then the next thing that I wanted to talk about with you guys today, number two, is just what's in the news lately. I am a person that rarely ever checks the news. I rarely, just for the simple fact that I am a person that wants to stay, wants to keep, you know, um, my mind clear of anything that I can't control. So, but here in Minneapolis, there's recently um, a a black man was killed by four police officers. Um, and a lot of my friends on social media have been commenting on this and have been talking about, how just how crazy this whole thing is, and just how just what it means, just how scary it is for them, and just how scary it is to be a black man in America, knowing that you could just someone could take your life. Um, so there's a lot of that going around in the media. I have friends that are cops. I myself, obviously, I am black. So yeah, so these things, so this stuff hits home in a way. I have two boys who are biracial. So you kind of think about them and them moving through the world and people mistaking them for being a thug or a criminal or someone that's, someone that poses a danger to them, when in fact they're just moving through the world, just like all of us should have a right to move through the world, should have a right to prove to people, that we're not dangerous. So those are things that we can't control. Isn't the whole point of me talking about this at all? We cannot control what others think about us. We cannot control how others perceive us. We cannot control that. All the things external to ourselves um, are just too complex and too and two, like they're consequential, but they're very inconsequential to our inner world. So I like to live my life with a mentality of being impervious to what's happening on the outside world. One of the reason being is if I if I give space in my mind, if I allow the things from the outside around me, things like how people view me, how people view my skin color, how people view what I look like, and all these different things, I can't focus on myself. I can't focus on what I can give to the world. Um, so I try not to focus on those things. Not to say that I don't see those things happening, but I focus. I don't. I through practice, I've built a wall to not allow those things to get in my head. Um, and then I want to say, because our mind is the most lethal thing on this earth. Um, it is very important that we keep that place sacred to us. Um, Also, we should bring our focus back to the inside of us, because once we start to reflect from the inside of us, we can come up with different solutions to solve the problems outside of us. It'll be very hard for us to come up with solutions when we're focused on who's out to hunt us, who's coming after us, who's against us, who's for us. So that's just a little bit about that, and mainly and lastly on the subject of this, the killing of the black man um, here in Minneapolis. Um, I want to say, if you take your focus from being within you and put it out there in the world, you now become a slave to your outside, to your surroundings. You now become a slave to your surroundings, and you're no longer, and you lose your integrity. And when you don't have your integrity, anyone can determine, you'll just be easily controlled, easily puppeteered. So it's very important that we in this time, black or white, police or civilian, and any other different titles that exist out there, that we bring ourselves back to the inside of us, and try to figure out what this all means for our society, and how we can solve these problems that are plaguing us, and that are stopping us from being free. So basically, I'm saying, be free, be free, and the freedom comes from within. Peace of mind comes from within. And my two boys, I'm not going to stop them from. I'm not going to tell my boys to stop being free, because there are all these things out there that could get them. I'm going to show them that inside of them is where most of their freedom comes from. On the outside of them, they can be free as well. But long story short, they have to start cultivating freedom from within. If freedom starts here, no one can give you freedom. No one can free you except you. You can free yourself. No matter where you are, no matter what your circumstances are, you have to be free from within. Okay. Sorry, that was long winded, but that's what I wanted to share on that today. But back to Wealth Wednesday. Wealth Wednesday. So there are two things I want to cover today, you guys. One, when it comes to creating wealth, when it comes to investing your money or investing your assets and creating assets, I want you to start thinking about your emotions. Get your emotions under control when it comes to money, when it comes to what you're trying to achieve out there. Manage your expectations. Know that it'll take a long time to, to amass wealth. It'll take a long time to become financially free and to be wealthy. So when you're trying to invest in something, it's a slow game. Slow is fast. So if you're presented with some offer to buy something, or if you want to start a business, if you want to do something, it's a slow game. You have to do your due diligence. You have to think slowly through all the steps. Think slowly through all the risks. Risk management is key. And I can't stress that enough. Risk management, risk management, risk management. So going slow, gathering all the facts, gathering all the risks, gathering all the benefits, then doing more research on that. But remember, you have to take action, but you don't have to take action, because sometimes when you take action too soon, it's a problem. You end up losing wealth. It can end up costing you your entire lifestyle. It can end up costing you everything that you've worked for, to that point, up until that point. So number two, you guys, leverage. When it comes to creating wealth, it is very important that you understand leverage, how to leverage debt to get wealthy. All right? Leveraging debt to get wealthy is, let me explain that. There's a notion out there of good debt, bad debt, right? And bad debt is obviously credit card consumer spending, where you're just buying. You have a credit card and you're swiping at the grocery store. Of course, when you can, you know, you use that kind of debt. You use bad debt, or you use consumer debt, with the with obviously with the mindset of paying that off right away. But good debt is the debt. It's the kind of debt that puts money in your pocket, right? So, I've touched on this before, but the idea of leveraging debt to become wealthy, that's where the slow thinking comes into play. So, of course, obviously, when you're buying something, I'm just going to use real estate as an example. Most real estate deals, when you're buying a house, you have to put at least 20% down. And most, when you're buying an investment property, sometimes they require you to put 25% down. So, however you get the 25% down to invest in that asset, you can either utilize debt, good debt, or you can utilize your own cash. Um, so that's what I mean by that. So if you went into an investing deal with all good debt, with all borrowed money, and then you keep your own cash to mitigate your risks, to manage the risk out there, that's a smart move. So a lot of the things, if you start thinking about that, if you start thinking about leveraging debt to become wealthy, you can kind of understand how the entire world around you is built right now. Most of the new construction, new businesses, all the big projects that you see around you in society are all bought for and paid for through debt for the most part. Most investors have little cash in the assets that they own, because they want to be liquid. Liquid means you want to have cash to manage the risks that exists out there. So those are the two things for Wealth Wednesday today, you guys. Check your emotions. Slow is fast, um, and fast is slow. And then, of course, lastly, leverage debt to become wealthy. Uh, you cannot, for the most part, become wealthy. Coming from like the background that I come from, with pretty much nothing, by utilizing cash. At some point, you'll run out of cash, and it takes a long time to build a cash reserve to be able to do that. But that's not to say that you shouldn't hold. That's not to say that you should only use debt to invest. To invest, you have to know what you're doing to be able to leverage, to understand how leveraging works. You have to understand the risks, the benefits, and the facts, to be able to understand how to leverage debt to become wealthy. Leveraging debt to buy assets. All those things come from experience, come from understanding what you're getting into. And that's all I wanted to cover. That's all I wanted to share with you guys today, on this episode of Wealth Wednesday. Thank you guys so much for listening.